Need for Speed. What an amazing franchise. With multiple eras across 4 decades of many entries, the classics, undergrounds, most wanteds, hot pursuits, so many different experiences all across the board people love and won't stop talking about. But amongst all of these games, there seems to be one that not many speak about, or maybe I should say not as much within the era of games it's in. The 2000 Need for Speeds are widely known as the golden era of the franchise, specifically where Black Box directed the series with Underground 1, 2, and Most Wanted. These games were the big 3, if you will, the peak of the series for most people. However, this didn't last very long, as the games after it didn't reach people's expectations, those being Pro Street and Undercover. While Pro Street was a well put together title, the majority of players were not on board simply due to how different it was. And Undercover was, well, Undercover. But what about that one game that dropped right after Most Wanted? Well, it was a sequel to that title, and not just your ordinary sequel. This game shifted the tone in a new setting with different priorities and rules alongside many new characters, which further expanded and also was a somewhat closure to the player's journey. This is Need for Speed Carbon. After escaping the cops at Rockport in Most 105, you, the player, head to Palmont City, looking to continue street racing at a place you've been before. While arriving, you meet familiar faces, Cross, Darius, and Nikki. From meeting them, you're informed that the city has turned into a territorial battleground, as many racers have taken over. You're advised to take part in the ruckus and start taking over to help Darius while also patching your reputation, as you didn't make a good impression leaving the city last time you're here. Throughout your journey at Palmont, you build a crew and take on rival gangs to claim control of the city, while also discovering major plot points of exactly what happened the night you left the city, which leads to Darius switching up, revealing himself as the main person to be worried about, as you're left to beat him and his 3 underbosses in a final showdown at the city and in the Carbon Canyons. Now, this game's theme does a great job at setting the perfect tone for its location and story overall. Like Most 105, this theme really brings the whole game to life. I'd say the theme itself is similar to Most Wanted in that it keeps that serious tone, just in a different way. I see Carbon's theming as more of a mysterious, deeper vibe to it, that anything can happen at Palmont. With the territorial battleground nature that this game brings and the infamous duels at the canyons, there's always something to worry about in Carbon. And I think the setting of this game really makes that feeling more of a reality. Palmont City is a pretty strong map. I really like the city itself for how dense it is and how different it is to Most Wanted's Rockport. Other than it being strictly set at night, Palmont brings that neon vibe to it, as nearly every building has all kinds of colors that makes the city stand out. It's a really urban city in a fresh way. Since it's really dense, there's tons of little things to discover all around. The road variety as well is really strong, all kinds of challenging turns out here with some awesome elevation changes. And there are plenty of straights here for you to fully get the most out of your car. And like Most Wanted, there are a ton of shortcuts you can pull during events. Just a really good map overall. This is pretty much how this game is. Really good. But honestly, you want to know exactly what I feel about Need for Speed Carbon? I feel that this game simply didn't get the love it deserved. Yes, there are many that love it, and it is widely considered as a great game, but it definitely is overshadowed by its predecessor. Even when I see people discuss the golden era of the series, Underground 1, 2, and Most Wanted are the candidates, but not Carbon. Which is weird because I know for a fact that if this game was more similar to Most Wanted in its theming and everything else, it would be a lot more talked about and praised. But I'm glad it didn't turn out that way. Carbon is still a sequel to Most Wanted. It continues the story of the player and directly follows up what happens after that game. But it's also its own thing, with a different setting, location, characters, progression, gameplay. There's a reason why it's not called Most Wanted 2. That's what I respect the most out of this game, is that it tried something different really well. Now, what's the progression like? Is it any good? Well, it's pretty good. It is a black box Need for Speed during the golden era, so yeah, the career is going to be great. You start the game by picking your first car. You got 3 choices, with each car being within a different car type. Now, this game has 3 different car types: muscle, tuner, and exotic. Now, depending on which car you picked, you'll be put in a district revolving around the same car type your car is associated with, as all these districts are run by certain people. The game has a total of 4 districts: Fortuna, Kempton, Downtown, and Silverton. Fortuna is an exotic car district, which is controlled by the Wolf and his crew. Kempton is the muscle car district where Angie and her crew are in control of. Downtown is the tuner car district, and where Kenji and his crew are in control of this area. And Silverton is something you don't got to worry about until later in a career. So I'll talk about that one in a bit. But like I said before, you start within whichever district your first car's type is associated with. So if you pick the RX-8, for example, you'll be put in the downtown district. Now, your goal in this game is to take down the top dogs of every district. But you're not alone, as you have a crew behind your back helping you out. Throughout the career, you'll come across numerous people that played a significant role in the night the player was last at Palmont, as they want to be part of your crew. So with that, you're able to hire these new people and even fire your current crew members, as you only get to have 3 members. Each member has different roles and specialties and can be utilized within actual races, as one member can take part in these events. I'm not gonna state all the different people and roles, but I will say that Nikki is like the best one. She's a drafter, so during racers, you can activate her and she'll go in front of you so you can, well, draft her. And it's insanely good. So yeah, you must dominate all districts. So doing well in every event is the way to go. When it's time to go head to head against these people, you race them one-on-one, normally at the city, and face them to a duel at the canyons. And boy, the canyons are crazy. I'll talk more about that later. Beating these guys will grant you their car and other rewards, which leads to the later half of the game where Darius is revealed to be the main dude in control of this whole thing. Silverton is the last district where you're gonna have to be in, where you're gonna have to dominate every race to beat Darius and all the previous people you already beat, leading to the final battles where you race the 3 past bosses in a race at the city and a race at the canyon. You win those and you face Darius one-on-one at the city normally and race him at the canyons. You beat him, you get his R8 and conquer all of Palmont. That's the career. And it's just great overall. It's very engaging and it just feels rewarding to progress with all the stuff you can earn by actually competing, the things in the game. Something that's very rare in today's day and age. Another thing that's very great is the handling. Now, Blockbuster is always good at making handling models with each of their games. Well, except Undercover. But regardless, this game's handling is one of the best handling models in the entire franchise. To me, this is the perfect example of a full arcade model with a touch of realistic physics. It's fairly easy to pick up and play, which is good. That's what you would want out of an arcade game. But it also can be challenging, especially when you get to higher end cars. Basically, the game takes the handling from Most Wanted and slows it down to cater to the tighter and twistier nature of Palmont. And I honestly think it works, as it allows you to have a little bit more control around the map, especially during canyons. It just feels satisfying driving in game, and with the 3 different car types, they distinctively feel different from one another. Muscle cars feel weighty and tend to oversteer quite a bit. Tuner cars are the exact opposite of that. They're grippy and nimble to maneuver around. And exotic cars are a little in between, with the little advantage of putting out more power. And with the black box Need for Speed besides Hot Pursuit 2 and The Run, there comes a top-notch set of customization. This game really delivers in terms of that. It carries over pretty much all the stuff from Most Wanted with a couple of new additions. Those new additions being the Auto Sculpt feature and the tuning feature. Auto Sculpt is where you can customize the size of many visual parts of the car. Things like the bumpers, hood, wings. It's simply awesome. The tuning feature is something that can be adjusted with every upgrade after applying them. The game will provide you some options where you can soft tune to make your car perform better for certain events and so on. So for example, you can make it so that your NOS has faster duration with less power, or more power with less duration. Another thing this game does well is its event variety. And that's something that old racing games generally do better than recent games. Carbon has some awesome stuff here. So obviously there are your typical circuits and sprints, as well as checkpoint events, which are just your time trials. So let's start with Race Wars. These are big, long events that can be unlocked within every district after dominating most of the events within each district. And these races tend to be a little more challenging than your normal races. So that's always a good addition. Drift events make a return in this game after being absent in Most Wanted, and it's a little different here. Like the Underground games, the game has its own handling specifically for these events. But for this game, you go much faster. Some people like this change, some people don't. I personally dig it. Yes, it's very easy to win these events. I never had a tough time with these, but it's just fun, especially with the places you drive on here. For these events, you drift on custom tracks and also the canyons, which are just great settings. Speed trap events return from Most Wanted, and these are always, great, man. Like, these need to return in the next Need for Speed. I don't care. These events are basically sprint races with speed traps determining your position in the race. These events have several speed traps, which all track your speed when you cross them, of course. And you obviously need to have the most miles per hour or kilometers an hour to win. Now, here's your best event in the whole game: Canyon Duels. With these, you race one-on-one against bosses throughout the game to not a typical race at the canyons. With these, there are 2 stages. Within the first stage, your opponent is in front. You must stay on them and close in as much as you can, as you need to be within close quarters by the end of the stage. If you pass them mid-duel and stay ahead for 10 seconds, you beat him and then and there. Second stage is the opposite of that. Now you're in front of your opponent and need to gap him as much as possible. as you need to be within a certain distance by the end to win this stage. If your opponent passes you, you have 10 seconds to pass him, or you're out. If you manage to get super far mid-stage and hold that distance for a bit, you win. They straight cooked you, bro. Holy crap. Like, if the game would have been fine if these were just normal one-on-one races. Because the canyons alone are amazing, but these duels just amplify it all. And the soundtrack, man. I'd even mentioned the soundtrack for these. Like, this is simply the best part about Carbon, hands down. It really is engaging and challenging to get through. I can't express enough how good this bit of the game is. I really wish the canyons themselves were actually a part of the map that you could drive around in, because bro, it's literally peak. Need for Speed Carbon is a really special title in the franchise. Not only did it directly follow up the best game in the series really well, it also went on its own route, shifting the tone and themes on its own terms. I really enjoyed this game through and through, and I can't wait to review the rest of the series. The next review will be Pro Street, which will drop by the end of July, most likely, if I lock in. But till then though, I'll see y'all. Enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.